not here. Maybe in sunny California where Peggy is.
Wednesday mornings throughout the growing season, it's done. We are joined by Clay County Extension Educator Randy Nelson. We like to call him Randy the Rainmaker. Good morning to you, Rainmaker.
Good morning, Doug. Good morning, Bonnie.
Is there any way we can save our petunias?
At this point, Bonnie, I think that their season is over unless you have nice conditions indoors and you brought them in already.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. There possibly could be people out there who maybe didn't dig up their potatoes or beets or carrots. Is that lost, or are they still able to do that, or what are you thinking?
Not necessarily lost. It's funny that you mentioned that, Bonnie, because on Tuesday, I dug mine.
Oh, really?
So yesterday, I dug them out of the ground just to make sure before all the big amount of snow here fell. The soil shouldn't be frozen at this point, which is going to be a good thing. The unfortunate part is, if you have a few inches of snow now covering, the digging's not going to be all that friendly, but you can still do it. I suggest if you can get them out today, because it sounds like the temperatures, if I'm not mistaken, are going to cool off maybe even into the single digits coming up in the next few days. So it would be good to at least get the potatoes out. I have heard of people keeping carrots actually in the garden well into winter. And what some will do, they'll actually cover the carrots with straw or some type of a mulch cover. And then as they need them, they'll go out, they'll pull the mulch away, and then they'll dig them out. It's kind of a muddy mess, but if you don't allow the carrots to freeze, you can keep them in the ground that way. But if you don't want to do that, go ahead and dig them out.
Well, fresh garden carrots in winter. Hello, Randy. Awesome.
Yeah.
Folks, if you have a question for Randy, our text club is powered by 702 Communications. It's open right now at 35270. If you'd like to call, 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. Legitimate question coming into our text club here. Can you put granular fertilizer on the lawn in November to get a jump in the spring?
I would not do that at this point. We used to recommend what was known as a late-season fertilizer application, and that would go down in the fall, sometimes right around this time. You'd put it on when the grass stopped growing. So basically you would have no more shoot growth, but the soil temperatures were fine to where the ground wasn't frozen and there was still root growth. And the plant would take up some of that fertilizer, and then in the spring of the year, you would get a nice green up without having to put down any fertilizer. The drawback to that is that the nitrogen use efficiency, or basically the ability of that plant to take up that nitrogen, is not very great as the temperatures cool off, meaning that some of that nitrogen was left in the soil and it could potentially leach out, so we no longer recommend that one. So I would avoid doing that just for that purpose. And also now, depending on where you're at, if you have snow cover, I certainly would not do that for sure, because if you put it over snow, it's tough to say where that fertilizer is going to end up.
Randy, it seems like every spring there's a lot of us complaining about damage from voles or rabbits to lawns and trees. Is there anything we should be doing now to maybe lessen the impact?
Yes, and if you're in the area where we're going to be getting more snow coming in, that's likely going to remain with us until spring, and you have maybe some young trees, in particular fruit trees, that were put into the ground, I would put some type of a wrap around those trees. And if you're trying to keep out voles and field mice, one of the best things you can use is hardware cloth. And I would go with the hardware cloth that only has a 1/4 inch openings. And usually you can get it 2.5, 3 feet in height. And all you need to do is make a cylinder to go around your tree and push it into the mulch if you can. And that way the voles and mice cannot get through that 1/4 inch. Given the snow that we have right now, with more coming in, the ground temperatures, like I said, are not real cold yet. We have a perfect situation for a lot of vole and mice activity, very similar to last year. So if you can, get those on very soon. Another option would be the solid plastic, kind of it's relatively rigid, but it's flexible too, that you can put on along the trunks. It usually has a slice down the middle of it, and you just very carefully fit it around, and you can put that onto and just secure it just to make sure that it stays in place. Both of those are good options.
Quick question popped in here. Can we still prune the bushes around their house?
Depending on the type of bushes, you sure can. If you need to, if they happen to be, brushing up next to the siding and you don't want it to damage it, yes, go right ahead and do that. Keep in mind, if you're pruning any lilacs at this point, you are going to be reducing some of the flowers as well as some of the spirea too. If you prune them now, you'd be reducing some of the flowers. But again, if it's brushing up against the siding, you want to get rid of it, go right ahead.
And otherwise do it in the spring is what you're saying.
That is correct. And with lilacs and spirea, after they're done blooming would be ideal.
Okay, we'll get you on later, later in the year here, Randy, talking, Christmas greenery, I guess, Christmas cactuses and stuff like that. But since Mother Nature decided to wrap the growing season, we're wrapping you, okay?
That sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we always
You
appreciate
are
it.
awesome. Stay in touch, Randy. That's Clay County Extension Educator Randy Nelson. Joins us throughout the growing season here on the KFGO Morning Crew. It is 6:48, and thank you, Tanya, for that question for him.
Your KFGO Weather K forecast is powered by Acme Tools. Don't be left in the dark. Get powered up with the new Honda generator. Too Tall Tom